Love Travis's passion, man. So I'm okay with that. We didn't have enough of it that second quarter. Well, it wasn't where we needed to be. So within reason, he knows when to back off the pedal and knows when to push.
Look, I need you to understand something right now. What happened between Andy Reid and Travis Kelce on September 22nd wasn't just another sideline moment. This was different. This was personal. And if you think you know the whole story, you're dead wrong. Before we get into what really went down that night at MetLife Stadium, let me ask you something. How many times have you seen a 67-year-old head coach physically bump his star player so hard that a 250-pound tight end almost loses his balance? Now, flip that question. How many times have you seen that same player, who's known for being volatile, just stand there stunned? That role reversal should tell you everything you need to know about how serious this situation has become. The Chiefs came into that Giants game with an 0-2 record. Let that sink in for a second. The defending Super Bowl champions, the team that everyone thought would dominate again, couldn't win a game. Andy Reid's worst start in Kansas City in over a decade. The pressure wasn't just mounting, it was suffocating everyone in that organization. Travis Kelce was having the worst start to a season in his entire career. Through 2 games, he had 6 catches for 45 yards. 6 catches. For a player who redefined the tight end position, who became Patrick Mahomes' security blanket, who helped win 3 Super Bowls, those numbers weren't just bad, they were catastrophic. And here's what nobody wants to talk about. At 36 years old, maybe Kelce knows something the rest of us are just starting to figure out. Maybe he's realizing he can't do it anymore. Some analysts have said it straight up. Kelce's decline, his inability to impact games like he used to, that's what's really driving these outbursts. He can't make up for losing Rashee Rice. He can't compensate when Xavier Worthy isn't producing. The guy who used to be able to take over games single-handedly now has to watch his team struggle while he's stuck on the sideline, knowing he's not what he once was. That first half against the Giants was brutal to watch. 130 yards of total offense. The Giants' defense was systematically destroying everything the Chiefs tried to do. Wink Martindale had them figured out completely. Mahomes looked confused. The running game was non-existent. And with every failed drive, you could see the frustration building on that sideline like a pressure cooker about to explode. Then it happened. Late in the first half, after another drive that went nowhere, Travis Kelce lost it. But here's where the story takes a turn that nobody saw coming. Instead of Kelce being the aggressor like he's been so many times before, Andy Reid stepped up and delivered a chest-to-chest bump that nearly knocked Kelce off his feet. The coach who's known for being calm, who's famous for diffusing tension, who always plays the role of the steady hand, he became the aggressor. That's when you knew something fundamental had shifted. The shock on Kelce's face said everything. This wasn't part of their usual dynamic. This wasn't how their confrontations typically played out. For the first time in their decade-long relationship, Reid was the one sending the physical message. Reid was the one saying enough is enough, and the look on Kelce's face showed that even he didn't see it coming. Now, let me take you back to where this all really started, because if you want to understand why September 22nd mattered so much, you need to understand the history between these two men. You need to see the pattern that's been building for years. Super Bowl 58, February 11th, 2024, Las Vegas, the biggest stage in professional sports. Millions of people watching around the world. Travis Kelce delivered a shoulder bump to Andy Reid that nearly sent the 65-year-old coach tumbling to the ground. It became one of the most viral moments in Super Bowl history. Everyone saw it, everyone had an opinion, and everyone wondered how Reid would respond. Reid's response at the time showed his classic approach. He made a joke about it, said Kelce caught him off guard, that he didn't know it was coming, laughed it off, and said Kelce gave him a hug afterward. Classic Andy Reid, turning a potentially damaging moment into something he could manage with humor and perspective. But here's what people missed. The underlying issue didn't go away just because Reid handled it well publicly. That Super Bowl incident happened because Kelce had 1 catch for 1 yard in the first half. 1 catch. In the Super Bowl. For a player who built his entire reputation on being clutch, on being the guy Mahomes could always count on in big moments, being invisible in the biggest game of the year was unbearable. When Isaiah Pacheco fumbled at the 5-yard line, Kelce exploded. He stormed over to Reid, who was focused on his whiteboard, and delivered that blindside hit that shocked everyone watching. But the physical contact was just the beginning. What followed was even worse. Hot microphones caught Kelce unleashing a string of profanities, demanding that Reid open up the playbook and give him the ball. He was screaming inches from Reid's face, completely uncontrolled, while Chris Jones and Patrick Mahomes had to physically separate them. The image of Kelce yelling at his head coach in the Super Bowl became a defining moment that people still reference today. Taylor Swift was watching from a luxury suite. The cameras caught her covering her mouth, leaning forward, clearly distressed by what she was seeing. The criticism came fast and hard. Former players and analysts questioned whether Kelce had crossed a line from competitive passion into outright disrespect. The debate raged for days about whether there are boundaries that even the most passionate players shouldn't cross. Kelce's response afterward showed he understood the gravity of what he'd done. He admitted on his podcast with his brother Jason that he was too fired up, that bumping into Reid and getting him off balance was over the top, that even the yelling in his face was too much. He acknowledged there were better ways to handle it. That level of accountability helped him recover from the PR nightmare, but it didn't erase what happened or prevent it from happening again. And here's the thing, the Super Bowl wasn't the first time Kelce's intensity crossed the line. In July 2023, during training camp at Missouri Western State University, Kelce was involved in 2 separate physical altercations on consecutive days. The first was a shoving match with cornerback DiCaprio Bootle after a red zone drill. It lasted several seconds and required teammates to break it up, but people wrote it off as just competitive fire, the kind of thing that happens in intense practice sessions. The next day was different. During another drill, Kelce dropped a pass and unleashed a full-force punch with his left hand that connected with linebacker Jack Cochran's helmet. It was caught on video by fans at the open practice. It went viral immediately. This wasn't just competitive intensity. This was potentially dangerous behavior that raised serious questions about Kelce's ability to control his emotions even in practice settings. Andy Reid's response to these training camp incidents revealed everything about his philosophy. He said he loved Travis's passion, that the team didn't have enough of it, that Kelce knows when to back off the pedal and when to push it. Reid had accepted that managing Kelce's volatility was part of the job, a necessary component of getting the best out of his star tight end. After the punch incident, Kelce took to social media, acknowledging he needed to be a better teammate and a better leader. That pattern of explosive behavior, followed by immediate accountability, became the rhythm of their relationship. But Reid's approach to managing difficult personalities goes back even further than his time with Kelce. During his years with the Philadelphia Eagles, Reid was known for tough love that sometimes bordered on harsh. There's a famous story about offensive guard Jerry Hageman being forced to push a 500-pound blocking sled the length of the field in front of the entire team, while Reid calmly whistled. Hageman was released the next day and never played in the NFL again. That incident established Reid's reputation as someone who demanded absolute accountability and wasn't afraid to use extreme measures to enforce his standards. The evolution from the Hageman punishment to the Kelce confrontations shows how Reid's coaching style has matured. Where he once used public humiliation and physical punishment to establish dominance, he now engages in what you might call emotional negotiations with his star players. The fact that Kelce not only survives these confrontations but often thrives afterward suggests Reid has learned to harness volatile personalities rather than eliminate them, which brings us back to September 22nd and why that incident was so significant. For the first time ever, Reid was the one initiating physical contact. Reid was the one crossing the line from verbal coaching into physical confrontation. Reid was the one delivering the message through force. That role reversal suggests that even the most patient coach in the NFL has limits, and Kelce may have been testing those boundaries in ways he never had before. The aftermath of that September incident was carefully managed by both men, but there were signs that something deeper had shifted. Reid's post-game press conference hit all the right notes. He said that's the part he loves about Kelce, that the guy's all in, that sometimes he just has to be the policeman. Classic Reid, framing the confrontation as a positive expression of passion rather than a problem that needed solving. But unlike the Super Bowl incident where Kelce immediately owned his behavior, this time there was a notable delay in his response. He avoided the locker room before reporters arrived. He declined interview requests. For a player who typically embraces media attention and takes pride in articulating his thoughts, that silence was telling. It suggested this confrontation had hit differently, that maybe even Kelce was questioning the dynamic that had defined his relationship with Reid for so long. The Chiefs were the first defending Super Bowl champions to start 0-2 since the 1999 Denver Broncos. That's not just a bad start, that's historically poor company. The offensive struggles weren't weren't temporary growing pains. They represented fundamental questions about the team's identity and their ability to maintain championship-level performance. Through 3 games, Kelce had 10 receptions on 17 targets for 134 yards and 1 touchdown. For most tight ends, those would be respectable numbers. For Travis Kelce, they represented a significant decline from the elite game-changing production that made him the most dominant player at his position. At 36 years old, the physical demands of playing in the NFL were taking their inevitable toll. The questions about his future, about his ability to maintain Hall of Fame level performance, were becoming impossible to ignore. The timing made everything more poignant. Many insiders speculated this could be Kelce's final season. His contract was set to expire after 2025. Retirement rumors had swirled throughout the offseason. Every game felt like it could be part of his farewell tour. The idea that his legendary partnership with Reid might end not with championship glory, but with increasingly frequent confrontations was a sobering possibility for Chiefs fans. Patrick Mahomes' response to the incident was revealing. Typically diplomatic and measured, he was notably defensive when asked about it, emphasizing the love and respect between Reid and Kelce, while acknowledging that such confrontations fire up the whole team. Even teammates who had grown accustomed to the volatile dynamic were beginning to feel the strain of these recurring incidents. The Chiefs did rally to beat the Giants 22-9, with significantly improved execution in the second half. In the short term, the emotional release from the confrontation may have actually helped the team's focus, but sports psychologists will tell you that while emotional confrontations can provide temporary motivation, they can also create lasting resentment, trust issues, and communication breakdowns if not properly resolved. The question facing the Chiefs was whether Reid and Kelce could maintain their productive partnership while navigating these increasingly frequent explosions. There are financial implications too. Kelce earns approximately $14 million per year. Reid is one of the highest paid coaches in the NFL. The organization has massive investments in both men. The idea of having to choose between them or dealing with ongoing disruption caused by their confrontations represents a potential threat to the team's championship window. Here's what everyone's missing in all the analysis and debate about whether this is toxic or effective, whether it's passion or disrespect. The real question isn't about any single incident. It's about sustainability. How long can this pattern continue? How many more confrontations can their relationship withstand before something fundamental breaks? At what point does the emotional toll outweigh the competitive benefits? Reid has spent his entire career managing difficult personalities. From Donovan McNabb and Terrell Owens in Philadelphia to the various high-maintenance players he's handled in Kansas City, he's proven he can navigate these challenges. But the fact that he felt compelled to physically confront Kelce suggests his usual methods might be losing effectiveness or reaching their natural limits. For Kelce, the pressure extends beyond football. His relationship with Taylor Swift thrust him into a level of celebrity that transcends sports entirely. Media obligations, podcast commitments, constant attention, all while questions swirl about whether his focus remains on football. The pressure to perform isn't just about winning games anymore. It's about proving his priorities are in the right place, that his legendary work ethic hasn't been compromised by fame. The personal dimension adds another layer of complexity. This is a player who knows he's near the end, who can feel his abilities declining, who sees younger players taking on roles he used to dominate. That's a difficult reality for any athlete to accept, but for someone with Kelce's competitive fire and emotional intensity, it's especially challenging. Every dropped pass, every missed block, every game where he's not the focal point of the offense, it all reinforces what he's trying to deny. His time is running out. What makes the September 22nd incident so significant isn't just what happened in that moment. It's what it represents about where things are heading. When the roles reverse, when the patient coach becomes the aggressor, when the volatile player stands there stunned, that's a sign that the foundation of the relationship is shifting in ways that can't be easily reversed. The Chiefs went on to improve after that game, but the underlying tensions haven't disappeared. Every game where Kelce doesn't dominate, every drive where he's not targeted, every moment where his frustration bubbles to the surface, it all adds to the pressure. And Reid, for all his patience and understanding, has shown he has limits. The question is whether those limits have already been reached or whether there's still room for this partnership to continue functioning at a championship level. The truth is, nobody knows how this story ends. Maybe Reid and Kelce find a way to navigate this transition and finish their partnership on their own terms. Maybe the frustrations continue to build until something gives way. Maybe Kelce retires after this season and the whole question becomes moot. But what we do know is that the dynamic between them has fundamentally changed. The incident on September 22nd wasn't just another confrontation. It was a turning point that revealed cracks deeper than anyone realized. For Chiefs fans watching this unfold, it's painful to witness. This is supposed to be a dynasty. This is supposed to be a team that wins championships and makes it look easy. Instead, they're watching their legendary coach and their future Hall of Fame tight end engage in increasingly volatile confrontations, while the offense struggles to find its identity. The championship window that seemed like it could stay open forever suddenly feels like it might be closing faster than anyone expected. The broader NFL world is watching too, trying to figure out what this means for the Chiefs' chances this season and beyond. Can a team succeed when its most important relationships are this volatile? Can emotional intensity remain productive when it's manifesting in physical confrontations on national television? These aren't just questions about Reid and Kelce. They're questions about the nature of championship teams and what happens when the personalities and egos that drove success start to create friction instead. What happened between Andy Reid and Travis Kelce on September 22nd matters because it revealed something true about both men and about their relationship. It showed that even the most patient coach has breaking points. It showed that even the most self-aware player can push boundaries too far. It showed that partnerships built on mutual respect and shared success can still reach moments where the foundation cracks and nobody knows if it can be fully repaired. The Chiefs have a choice to make going forward. They can either find a way to manage this dynamic and channel the intensity into productive competition, or they can watch it slowly destroy what made them great. Reid and Kelce have a choice too. They can either acknowledge that their relationship needs to evolve as Kelce's career winds down and as the pressures mount, or they can keep repeating the same patterns until something breaks permanently. Right now, we're watching that choice play out in real time. Every game, every practice, every sideline interaction is another data point in determining whether this partnership can survive its own intensity. The September 22nd confrontation wasn't the end of the story. It was a warning sign that the end might be closer than anyone wants to admit. So when you watch the Chiefs play, when you see Reid and Kelce on that sideline together, remember what you witnessed that night at MetLife Stadium. Remember that this isn't just about football or winning games or maintaining a dynasty. It's about two men who built something special together, trying to figure out if they can hold on to it as everything around them changes. The answer to that question will define how their partnership is remembered and whether the Chiefs can sustain their championship success while navigating the emotional turmoil that's threatening to tear it all apart.